Well, hello, and welcome back to the iHealth channel and the iHealth radio. This is your host, Hurricane H, and this is a different edition of a different topic. As I had mentioned in the introduction, we will have various, shows, and each show will have a different, topic that we'll be discussing, and we will have a series and different editions, episodes. So this is actually the quote, and it's a special, interesting show in itself, because this is where we take one of the quotes that we read every day and or something that is motivational, and we'll basically go over it and what it means, how do we perceive it, and discuss it. Eventually, we'll have different people actually debate on them, on those quotes. But I feel that these are things that we all can benefit from, and sometimes listening to some of these, or at least seeing them, gives us motivation. And I personally, as a salesperson in the insurance world and the health world, I have used a lot of these in terms of trainings, and to keep the teams motivated, to keep myself motivated as well. And it starts with me personally. And it's dear to myself. So today's episode, or today's edition, is entitled, it's about success. And, really the quote of the day is, some people dream of success, and others wake up and work at it. And what does that mean? So again, success, what is it? Everybody's like, oh, I'm successful. They're successful. They're not successful. What's the measure? And what does that mean to you, to me, to everyone? It may vary from one person to the other. People oftentimes see what you do, what you have, what you've achieved, but they never actually wonder, like, how did you go about it? What did it take to get there? The mere fact that I'm actually in front of a camera today and actually hosting this particular channel, or two channels, the video and the audio feeds, is simply, an ambition piece, right? So it's something that I wanted, dreamt of, thought about, and instead of just thinking about it, I did something about it. And that's actually what goes on, for success. Now, the measure of success here is not necessarily what I think, or what, other people may think. It's really, the outcome of it. Is it working? Is it not working? Is success a goal? Yes. Is success easy? No, it's not. So again, some people dream of success. Some people wake up and work at it. A lot of people want everything. And we're all human. And I think as a human nature calls, we love to have things. We love to look at other people and see what they have, whether it's a mansion, I don't know what they have, a private plane, a private jet, a yacht, whatever it is. People always are looking at what other people have, keeping up with your Joneses, right? And, but it starts, with us. And I think it's a message for everybody, consumers, professionals, individuals, family members, even for our kids. It's something that if we can build and have some sort of concentration on, and kind of give them guidance. And it's even for business purposes. I mean, if you have employees or you're leading teams, you want to drive them to success, but to drive people to success, you need to kind of work with them on it and help them that way. But it takes individuals, right, to get the results. So it starts with, the self, your person, right? Everyone has to start, on their own, and they have to work hard, right? And not necessarily just hard, but also smart. It's a balance. Most people confuse those two things. Working hard, you can work 12 hours, 24 hours a day, and you may still not get any success. And we see that people burn out, they work hard, dead-end jobs, whatever the case may be, and it just doesn't work for them. And some people like the easy money. You look at them overnight, they have, millions, they're successful, everybody's judging them. Good or bad, criticizing them, it doesn't matter. And as a human nature calls, again, we criticize people just because. We seem that we enjoy that, all right? Criticizing the other is easier to point the finger to them versus to point the finger at yourself. So again, going back to my own, experiences, personal aspirations, personal, story, and just to give that as an analogy, I've always looked at, life with a different perspective. First, you want to be different, and everybody is different in nature, so nobody is born equally to like the others. Some of us are born with different, attributes and, skills, but that doesn't mean some skills cannot be learned. Some people can learn different skills at any given time, and it takes some willingness and the ability to see, and seek the success. You can't just, sit here, think about it, and like, oh, I want to drive, I don't know, a Porsche. Okay, so what will it take? So I'll give you a personal, joke, and it's actually a true story. And a long time ago, my first car was actually a $600 car. So, and I'm joking about it now, but, which I borrowed money to actually get. But the reason I got the car is because my director at the time wanted me to get a new position. And the condition was, you want to get, this position, you need to do something about it, and you're going to need a car. So guess what? I went to my colleagues. I borrowed money, didn't have money at the time, picked up the actual money, got my car, and got the position, made more money, ultimately bought a better car. So again, was that a successful transaction? In a way, yes. Did it take some sacrifice? Did it take some action to get to that actually end point? Yes. Now, that was my first startup car. And the next, thing that I was looking for is hopefully one day I can drive a Benz. And actually, yes, it did take some years, but I did get my Benz eventually. So this is not to boast or to actually, show off, but it's actually determining an actual goal and a target and going after it. It's doing whatever it takes to get there. And this actually, I can go back in history. The ultimate goal for me when I was a kid was actually to come to the United States. And for those of you who don't know me, you'll get to know in this story. So, I was born overseas in Morocco. And as I was growing up learning English as my third language, I was aspiring to, the American way, the American life, the American dream. And I remember as I was learning English at the American Language Center to get a proficiency as a second language at the time, there was a sign that says, would you like to work at Epcot Center in Disney? So, I was like, wow, Florida, Disney, it's a dream, right? Everybody's dreaming about it. At least, at the time, that's how I looked at it. I was literally in, ninth grade. And so I set a goal. I want to work at Disney. People looked at me funny. I mean, you're looking at a kid somewhere else, in a different world, another continent, and people looking at him and let's say, well, you're crazy. You're not going to go to the U.S. You're not going to get, past the actual embassy. You're not going to get a visa, and nobody's going to hire you at Disney World. So I said, okay, well, listen, there's only a way to do this. Let's see what time, brings and how we're going to get about it. And ultimately, I looked at what the requirements were. So the first thing they asked for was a high school. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not in high school yet. Or I am in high school, but I don't have a high school diploma at the time. So I had to work towards that. So that was the first step. And also they needed some sort of a skill, which is a language skill. And the skill need to be a good, English, mandate. So you have to have some sort of a mastery of a level of English as a second language. So I said, okay, well, I am in the school, learning in high school as well as the American school. So as a combination over time, I became, decently proficient at the time. And, and I got my proficiency in English. And so that was the second, condition. And the third, really the willingness to actually apply for the job and get an interview, local interview. There's like different stages. Ultimately, a final interview with the Walt Disney World casting, international casting, which, so that was the dream, the goal I set. So I did that. And when I got, my high school diploma, the question became, well, what happens next? So assuming you get to the job and you get hired, and what's beyond Disney, right? You need some sort of a degree. High school is not going to cut it. So, then I went to one of the best, schools, one of the international schools of tourism, sales, and marketing, specifically that focuses, in hospitality at the time. But nevertheless, it was renowned, and also an affiliate to Lausanne in Switzerland and Cornell in New York. So that was kind of like, the steps to get to that success. Now, was it easy? No, it was hard because you had to do all these things and you got to prep and you got to work every day towards the same dream. Now, there are no conditions. I mean, there are conditions, but there are no guarantees that that goal was going to be achieved. But the only thing the only thing I know is that in order for me to do it is I have to keep up at it, right? It's not like you're going to start and then give up in the midway. You continue no matter what. Until the end. And you don't give up. You don't listen to people. Negative people are going to be around. They're going to tell you, whoa, they're going to put you down. They're going to give you all the reasons why you cannot do it. So I grew up with one concept and one concept only. if one person can do it, why can I not do it? I will try. What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to fail at it, but I'm going to learn something from it that's going to help me again. Everything happens for a reason, and it will be a different, line of success eventually. It's just a different path. And, I always give the analogy in training is to a river. A river does not stop. It starts and it keeps going. If it finds an obstacle, it doesn't obviously remove the obstacle. If it's small enough, it pushes it out. But if it's a mountain, it goes around it, right? And I give the example of the Seine in France. If anyone has been there, you'll be seeing it looping back and forth, back and forth. And as it continuously do that, it gets to its point, of target, which is the goal. And, funny, I talk about goal and success here, but the analogy is linked to an entrenched in my DNA because of the sales aspect of what I do for a living overall. And that is always setting up goals. Salespeople are always determined and they have set goals. And you go after your goal, no matter what it takes, of course, legally, and, follow the actual procedures, follow the actual protocols. If not, create new ones, find a way. All right. If there's a will, there's a way. So again, your dream of success, great. What happens next? Do you just keep it as a dream? And that's all it is. It's a dream. And a lot of people dream. We can daydream, we can night dream. And unless you wake up in the morning and okay, how do I make my dream come true? Things can happen. So going back to the story, I did actually finish my degree, and I had an opportunity to interview at the international school with the casting, but that didn't happen for other technical reasons. I was denied that interview, so I took another path. I went to my American school, and I applied directly through them, and I was able to get actually, the job on the spot. Literally, I was hired on the spot. I was given the okay to get the job, and about a month later, I was actually received and with the best possible warmth welcome at Orlando Airport, and I had my own place and for the international Disney program, the college program, and it was a great experience. Learned a lot of stuff. That was my first target. That was my first dream, and it did come true. So for anyone that's watching or listening, if you're dreaming, don't let it be a dream. Make it work. Go after it. Do not allow anyone to tell you otherwise. You hear other people telling you cannot do it, then they're just either jealous or because they have their own, failures or they have their own limitations, they don't see you doing it. See, for me, if someone throws that challenge at me, I'll say I'll do more. And I'm going to give you a lot more stories as far as what success and when you put a dream, you go after your dream. Again, this station here that I'm actually, addressing you from, it's an idea. I've done, like I had said in the introduction, I've been in the healthcare insurance world for over 25 years, 26 years to be exact. And over the years, I've learned a lot. But what I did observe is that there is no healthcare, specific dedicated station anywhere. Yeah, there's podcasts, there's this, there's that. But how about putting it all together between a radio station and an actual live channel? This came up with the iHealth channel and iHealth Radio, which is broadcasting live 24/7. Again, I had to get a stage name, and I had given you the story about Hurricane H and how it all started, from the previous live. But the fact is, it was just an idea, but I didn't stick at it as an idea. I actually took it to the next step. So the key here is take the idea, you actually explore the idea. If you really see yourself in the idea, don't hesitate. Whatever it takes. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take some money. It's going to take, a lot of sweat, hours of work, maybe, learning different things. I mean, I had to learn everything from scratch to actually be able to do this live feed here. It's not as easy as people make it sound on TV. It's not vlogging. I learned the sound systems, the actual visual effects, the actual lighting, the background, all the stuff. And it's not perfect yet, but I will learn it more. This happened in a couple of months. People go for years to actually learn these things, but whatever it takes. All right. And, you just have to, have the guts, you have the actual drive, the motivation, and nothing stops you. No matter what you put your mind into, you got to do it. And so the story behind the success. So we got to Disney. It was great. What happens after Disney? Well, live, happens. Do you just stop there and just kind of settle for, any life you want? No, you can do more. And one of the things I did is I said, okay, if it's going to happen, and there is a good saying that says, if it happens, if you can do it, I think one of the songs of Frank Sinatra, I love New York, or like in New York business, if you actually, can make it, New York is a good place to make it, or that's the gist of the song or the idea. But the idea is, in New York, things happen, and if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And so grabbed, my flight, came to New York, started from nothing, literally at a youth hostel, and, with the promise of a job at a travel agency. And the rest is history. Then I got myself into insurance, and then the rest, again, is history. And we can talk about that or a different thing. This is not about me personally, but if someone is interested in learning the story, I'll be more than happy to share it. And maybe that could be a motivational piece to anyone that is listening and that sees themselves, maybe growing. So for me, that's the thing. I'm always looking at the next level, the next level, the next level. It's not, far-fetched that someone can get whatever they want in life. You might not get everything you want, but you can go after it. Doesn't mean that you always succeed, and doesn't mean that failure is actually a failure. Failure is a terminology that we determine, when something does not, the end game does not happen the way expected. But when you look at it from the bright side, when you look at it from a positive side, when you look at it a cup half full versus half empty, what happens is you will see it and be like, oh, now I see it, this is why. And things, sometimes you fail one thing, and that failure is what means for you to actually be successful at a different thing. And anyone that actually claims that they've succeeded overnight, maybe a false claim, maybe 1 in a million or a trillion. But, at the end of the day, everyone, that we know of today in history that made it to any level that we appreciate and that we respect, people that we look up to as role models, they have worked hard. They have diligently worked hard, went crazy, tried different attempts over and over and over before. It's that the last one, the last, attempt is the one that actually, happens. And you don't know which one it is. You got to keep at it. So, and I have a lot of role models in my life. One of the main ones that I've always looked up to, Walt Disney World, my first employer. And, the Walt Disney himself, the man, behind the creation of Disney and Mickey, and I would joke about, my first boss was Mickey Mouse. So, but really, he was a good, actually, a motivational person to my life, right? So someone that I looked up to in terms of how he achieved his dream. It was a dream. He made it come true. As a matter of fact, I've asked the question before, does anyone know what EPCOT stands for? It's, Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. It's an acronym. And when you hear it again, it's Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. This is something that Walt Disney himself, thought about years before the project, even became, active and the parks opened doors. But that was an idea and his vision. So visionary is part of your success. You have to set goals and a vision. Short-term, long-term, any level, but you have to set them up. In sales, we talked about that in World of Sales or Sales World. We're going to talk about it in the other sessions, but really you set a goal, and you have to have short-term goals, and those could be, for the day-to-day, could be for a weekly or monthly, whatever, but you set your stuff, whether you're doing a task, whether you're doing it in person, whether you're doing it for career path, school path, doesn't matter. You set a goal, one. Short term, you set another, 5 years down, 10 years down, where you want to be a year from now. Actually, it's a question I ask in interviews. Where would you like to be in a year from now? Would you like to be 5 years from now? Some people say, well, I don't know. Wrong answer. I mean, there's no wrong answer, but it's really not, giving me a big, feel, for that particular candidate if they tell me that. I don't see that they have, the drive or the vision. But some people say, I want to be at your seat. I want to be in your shoes. I want to be your VP of sale. Well, actually, I love those folks because you know what? If they're going to do just as good, that means we all grow as a company, and therefore these people actually be a good, addition to the team. Again, setting goals. And, determines your success. No goals, again, we talked about it in the world of sales. Fail to plan, plan to fail. 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance. These are concepts, but they all lead to success at any different measures. Everyone sees, the success different, but we all know what success is. At the end of the day, it's something that you set to go for and after, and ultimately you achieve it. And so if you do, it is a level of, success. So the success level may vary from me to someone else, to someone else, to someone else. It depends on what they set as their vision or target. But at the end of the day, it is. The problem that we have is that some people, just see your, end game. They see where you are today. They don't go back and see where you were before. What did it take? What steps did you have to go through to get where you are today? They see the car you drive. They see your, house, and they may be jealous. They may be like, oh, look, and they start speculating about, oh, where does he get his money? Maybe he's done this or the other. But those are just, what people are always going to see. People look, at the outside. They don't look at the core things. They don't look at, what it takes to build an actual building. No buildings, are built without a foundation. And it's easy to it's harder to actually build a foundation sometimes than to build the actual skyscraper, because you have to dig deeper and deeper, and it's a lot of work that goes in before you actually have to raise an actual building. Once you do, then you build the cosmetics. And sometimes people come at the end of the game, so like, well, what happened with this? You should have put this color here. That's actually coming after the fact. But have you, taken the step to see what it takes to be there? You would be questioned then. Even when you start a business, you can start a business and you put all the stuff together. And then someone comes and says, oh, you failed to do this. You missed a nail. Oh, really? You missed something. Well, where were you when we were doing all this? Or you just come in at the easy? Because it's easy to see everything that's already established and just kind of point out something that you don't like. But build it from scratch is a different story, and that's the problem. And so there's a lot of patience that takes place, perseverance. You have to actually be resilient. You have to be first ambitious. You have to be determined. You have to be willing to fail. And failure is, as they say, not an option, but sometimes it is an option. And if it is, to me, I have a definition of failure. There's no failure. Failure is a success, because failure itself is a learning experience. You cannot learn without failure. And, sometimes, some people may defer in this particular opinion. They say, well, I don't want to fail. I just want to succeed. Well, how do you know you succeeded? You have to have the balance, so the light and the darkness, there's the yin and yang. You have to have both. Sometimes we appreciate the sun because we actually miss it when it's actually dark and gloomy. So, it's that same kind of concept with the balance. You have to see things the way they are. And for me, again, cup half full, not half empty. And I've challenged this, over and over people when, very simple. I try not to see negative. I see positive in every situation. And, as I joke about it, even that is positive, and people will look at me like crazy. And some people may probably question that right now, as I stated. But if you think about it, from a psychological, aspect of it, or even of any type of end you want to look at it, you want to see that, there is an actual truth to it. It's how you see things. Okay, some people see the best of everything. Some people see the negative and the worst in everything. I choose to be in the positive side, and that's just my choice. Now, I recommend that for everyone. And sometimes all it takes is somebody to point you directly to it, because we all kind of tend to get stressed with a lot of things. And, many people joke with me, I've gone through tough times up and down. And, people well, how do you go through it? And it's not phasing you. Nothing phases me in life, because, what's the worst that can happen? You go bottom line, to the bottom, and then you start again. End of story. You start. The key here is you never just give up. You get up, wake up again, work at it day after day after day, and try to do it smart. Just hard. You work hard, it's going to burn you. But you want to work smart. What can I do? This, that, the other. You got to lose stuff. There's a lot of stuff to read. There's a lot of motivational stuff out there, but you have to keep up. It does not stop, okay? Success is not something that happens over a minute, overnight, but it's something you work towards, to work and work at, day in, day out, until you set that. And then when you reach that target you set, then what's next? It's like going to school, right? High school, college, bachelor's degree, next master's degree. If you want to be an academic, you go to PhD. If you don't want to do that, whatever the case may be, you start, at a level ground. I started as a representative in the insurance world, made it my way up to chief level. So you can do it. Now, many people doubted me even at that rate. I've actually was told, I'm not ready to be a chief at a particular place. And guess what? The opportunity came, and I actually proved them wrong. And sometimes not proving them wrong, because the only person you have to satisfy is you. And as long as you believe in yourself, that's all that matters. Because people are always going to doubt you, but the only one that you cannot doubt is you, and the only one that you compete against is yourself, and the one that you were yesterday or today. Because again, as I finish the sentence, it's the future that's past. So it's you always have to improve in your own personality, in your own life, in your own style, and everything. And that is actually a true vision of success. So really, to sum it up, if you dream of something, you go after it. You just don't talk about it. Another true story. So not so many people don't know about this, but I wake up at night, I can't sleep, something comes to my mind. Guess what I do? I get up and I really go write it down. So in the morning, I don't forget about it. And it's an idea, I put it, I like it, I pursue it. Even if it means it costs me money. And I'll give you an example. So I do have an invention, and the idea of the invention came in from a simple fact that I could not do something in my house. And I thought about it, like, well, what about if this? So, there's a saying that says, necessity is mother of invention. Necessity is mother of invention, right? The same or similar, concept of that. So the idea is you see something as a need, you have to solve it. You find a solution. That's the other thing. You have to be solution oriented. I do that for, a living, and in leadership, in sales, in operations, you look at solutions, you look at stuff. Okay, the problem happens. How do we move from there? As opposed to, like, sometimes people have a problem, like, what are we going to do? All right, well, okay, we can dwell about the problem or we can move on. But so, long story short, the idea is you see something, you work at it, you make it happen. So same thing, you get an idea, it could be dumb, and by the way, there are no dumb ideas. Ideas are ideas. So you just, kind of balance them out. You can look at their merits, you can evaluate them, see whether they're actually gonna, give you some sort of outcome or not. If you think that they're gonna work, then you go after it. That's all there is. So again, simple as got an idea, wrote it down, woke up the next day. What are my steps? What can I do to get this idea actually, happen? And guess what I did? I went, did my research, and went to the companies, found a company that can help me, did my research on the actual concept, did the whole steps, whatever it takes, step by step. And it was not easy. It took a couple of years, but eventually I got it patented, and it's a utility patent for 20 years, and it's a concept that, eventually will get licensed, and hopefully one day will make a big splash in the marketplace. So again, this is not about me. It's about, you. It's about the idea of you have something, you like something, you want something. It's how bad you want it. You go after it. Sorry about that. But so that's the idea. You go after whatever your dreams, are, and you make them true. So, Steve Jobs, iPhone. Actually, that's an iPhone that just rang. So, those are some leaders that we actually look, at and role models that we go after in terms of our ambition and aspirations. But guess what? They started somewhere, and a lot of these, big companies started in garages and basements and so on and so forth. Small ideas, but they went big, they went bold. Uber, small idea. Guess what? All over the place, all over the world. And we can talk about the bulb, electricity. Who would have known? Now we used to have candles. Now we have lights. Planes. People are crazy. Like, how can you, fly? And, humans can't fly. Guess what? We crossed the whole world, we've gone to space. So again, ideas are what they are, and those that perceive them, as such, and they don't pursue them, they just, watch them, go by and somebody else picks them up. Some ideas literally are in the market today that I thought about, and I missed the actual bandwidth on them. I actually, I did not pursue some ideas, and it's funny because I see them now live, and I'm like, damn, I should have done something about it when, but I hesitated. You don't hesitate. You just, wake up, take a deep breath. Okay, I like it. You know what? I think it's going to have a benefit. It's got merits. Let's go after it. And now, of course, sometimes there are difficult things. There's financial aspects of things that you may not have, at the time. But there are ways. There's a will, there's a way, right? You find, I don't care, a loan, credit card, you work, you balance your life. You work daytime, you do stuff. This radio is, a side gig, right? But to me, it is a motivational platform. It is an educational platform. Remember, our mission is to educate, enlighten, inspire, and motivate. So it's all of the above, but it is done, in a way that it's not conflicting with my regular life. But the idea is I work, to get my bills paid and everything else, and keep my life standards, whatever that I've worked hard for as my target. Again, I call that the eyes on the prize. As a matter of fact, I have my car, my house, and my phone, and it's not, again, to boast or to show off. It's more about that's what keeps me motivated. I wake up, I look at it, I go after it, because that's what's going to keep me going. Because if I can't pay my bills, no one is going to pay them for me, right? And the idea is, you set a goal, see an idea, have an idea, dream of an idea, you set it, you go after it, and that's it. The rest is history. The only thing that's between you and your idea being actually, a success is you. No one can stop you but you. And that's really, it can remain an idea a lot of ideas, but it's not going to be anything else unless you actually work at it. You got to do whatever it takes to get there. People see the top of the iceberg. You look at these $1 million mentions, you look at these guys having a great life, but then what did it take? Even superstars, football players, and even movie stars, they did not always start at a star level. They started as a cast member somewhere, as an extra in a movie, and sometimes you look at, some of these folks that started from nowhere, with commercial, Leonardo DiCaprio and many, many others. Started at small little commercial gigs, and ultimately they're like, wow, they're all over the place, and they're superstars. Football players, they start in high school and they build themselves into college and then the NFL. Whatever the case, you see something, you have some sort of a gift, you have some sort of an ambition, you have some sort of aspiration to get to a level that you want. No one can stop you. Again, the only one that can stop you. There will be obstacles. It will not be easy. There will be hurdles, but an obstacle is all that is. It's an obstacle. You either move it or you move around it. It may take you a little bit more time to get back, but you do it. I love sometimes to watch some. I love movies, and I was watching a movie the other day. It's just about a crash in the snowy mountains, and the guy had to actually find a way with another person, and they got into this mountain range. They could not cross it. He had to go all the way around it. So he had to replan his way and did it. So the idea is you cannot stop because of the first obstacle. Something happens. Okay, no big deal. As I said, the story, when I went to interview for Disney, and for technical, reasons, I was told by my dean, well, I was not qualified. And I'm not going to go into the details on that. But when I did, what I did, and I went straight to the actual, American school. I applied there, met with casting. I was the first one actually hired in the whole, year. So for the whole mission, the first person that was actually recruited was me. And, when they found out about it, actually, it was a topic of an actual speech in the auditorium. He was our marketing professor, and he actually stated, when you have something that you really want bad, you work at it, and you do whatever it takes to get there. Now, again, whatever it takes, just to be clear, legal and ethical, right? So these are two components. We just don't go and shortcut things just to get what we want. Some people do that, but it doesn't usually work out well. But if you actually do it with conviction, you do it right, legally, ethically, and you work as hard, and smart, combine all of those, have a lot of patience, and evaluate, what's not working. You're always solving for problems. What's not working? What else I can do? What can I do more to change this? What's the next step? What's the next move? Those are the things that will get you, to the next level. If you don't do it that way, your dreams will remain what they are. Again, you want to have an invention? You can. You want to have, a studio? You can. You want to be a star? You can. If you got to tell yourself, I can. It starts here. I can do this. Okay. Another joke and true story. My first gig, I wanted to be a sales manager. I was a representative. And, I went for the job the first time and they denied me. They says, oh, you're not qualified. So I'm like, disappointing, but didn't stop me. I asked, well, why am I not qualified? They said, well, you're not organized enough. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good point. So good feedback. Taking criticism is not a bad thing. You take the positive from it and you work on it. So now I know something that I need to skill on. So I worked that. I got a job that actually proved that I can do organize. So I was a community events, and community relations representative. I did all that stuff. So I had to do a lot of, prep and things and create events, and I organize and execute on them. So I showed them that I can do more than just sales. And when the opportunity came, I got the job. And guess what? So I sat down my cubicle at the time and I asked the question oh, so you got the job, Hisham. So what's next? Now, for those of you who don't know me, you know me as Hurricane Age. First name is Hisham, John Elan Mahdi. Hurricane Age is stage name. So again, as you get to watch my videos, you will know who I am, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and we'll have a lot of plenty of opportunity to actually get to know each other. But the fact is, that's what happens. You sit, you evaluate, you ask the question, what else? Well, I got the job. I have no choice. I got to do this. Right? Same thing. You went to director. What else I can do? You went to VP. What else I can do? How can I do it right? I was a chief. Now you have the whole division. What are you going to do about it, right? You're in charge. You are in any situation, you're in charge. You're always in charge. You're at home. You're in charge. People, and there's another session when we're talking about sales world and all this stuff. We'll talk about leadership and, and manager versus boss and things like that. We all manage in our lives. We all manage our day-to-day lives. Forget work, forget professional, as consumers, as individuals, family members, life happens. We live, we are living. And, there are a lot of things that happen every day. Okay, that can be, a deterrence, can be, blocks, can be problems, obstacles. But you know what? Does not stop. You cannot stop. First, you have to believe. You cannot panic. You have to be patient. You have to be resilient, persistent, and consistent, to get there, and you have to, fall, stand up, do it again. Fall, stand up, do it again. When you're a baby, you do that. Right? You get up, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up until you can walk, comfortably. Same thing, right? Everything takes time. You learn before you get there. You got to learn. You got to learn step by step. You work the magic. You work the steps. But don't let anyone fool you. Don't let anyone put you down. Don't let anyone ever, tell you that you're not worth who you think you are. Okay? You believe in yourself. You believe in what you think you can achieve. And do whatever it takes. And if you don't know how to do it, you learn. You ask, you learn. Plenty of information in YouTube, plenty of information in Google. Uncle Google can do it all for you. So go out there, dig in, libraries, whatever it takes, read books. There's a lot of stuff. We have social media now, Facebook groups, you have LinkedIn, a lot of networking opportunities. You can get it done. And that's how it takes, for you to get, to the success. So you dream of success, you wake up and work at it. It's not going to happen on its own. And that's all I have for today. Hope that this was encouraging, was actually enlightening to some of us and some of you. And, hopefully, we'll pick another quote the next time at the next edition of this particular show. And, we'll bring you a different spin on things. And, hopefully it's positive. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to the channel and, you can comment, send suggestions and, look forward to the next show. And that's all I have to say. This is Hurricane H. You're watching the iHealth channel, listening on the iHealth radio, and talk to you soon at the next show. Bye now.